And then I'm gonna take my time and realize how I'm gonna plant them.
1 week later.
Okay, so it's been about a week since we got these plants, and unfortunately, as you can see, this plant is doing terrible. It had a few lost leaves inside the bag, and the seller told us, oh, it was just because of transport, some leaves fell off. But as soon as we got home, you can see that progressively all of the leaves are dying, and you can see it's going through the plant in just a few days. Now I don't know if I just hope that it's just because of adapting to the environment, or if there's some sort of infection going on here, and I should just cut this part of the plant that's effective. Although, considering how fast this is going, I'm not sure the whole plant isn't gonna die. Actually, if you see this one, you have infected parts in the top and in the bottom, so I'm pretty sure this whole section is gone. And this one I might be able to save the little tip of it. So right now the question is to cut this or not.
6.5 hours later.
I think I'm gonna cut it because I'm pretty sure if I pot it as is, the blackness is just gonna come across the whole plant. And I'm gonna pot this little bit too, but I'm pretty sure it's all gonna die because see. So I'm very, very disappointed with this plant. After a week of trying to hydrate this one, it's still showing a lot of signs of dehydration. But well, the sphagnum right now is completely dry, but it's been kept on and off moist so the plant can hydrate, and all these roots are alive and well. So this one I'm less than happy with. I wish it was more hydrated by now, and I wish I could have done the potting it up a bit sooner, but this one I think is going to be okay. So from what I've read online, this one should be potted in some fine bark and sphagnum or perlite, something that retains moisture. So I have here some small bark, some very fine bark, and some sphagnum. And like I said, I think I'm going to cut the plant to remove the part that's clearly infected. See, it's even this part that I kept is losing leaves, so I'm really not feeling confident with this at all. So you buy like 4 big pieces of it, and this is what happens. This is all I have left, and hopefully it will do something. So here you go. This is what we have left of the Pleurothallis. And I don't think I'm even going to make a tag for this plant because I'm pretty sure it's very sick and it's not going to make it. The encyclia is probably going to be a straightforward repot. This is the 3rd one of these we have so far, and they do really well in what we call our oncidium mix, which is some medium to small bark and some sphagnum, because even though they're cattleya types, they do require way more moisture than an average cattleya hybrid. So we had to take this one to the bathroom to clean it because it had that really thick spongy plug in the middle that a lot of mass-produced plants have. And even after all the cleaning, there's still some in there that I can't quite reach. So I'm trying to clean this plant the best I can. Oh, bugs, great. There's a bug in it. Now the question is he forever alone, or does he have a little family in there with him? No, this plant came with such a dense root system that I was almost hoping that part of it would be dead, so it would be easier to repot. But no, all of these roots, well, except for the ones that I broke, but all of these roots feel really plump and healthy, so I could pot it in this pot, but there's barely any room for a substrate, so I'm still gonna try, because there's no way this plant needs a bigger pot. Something that I like to do sometimes is to put the substrate in the root system and then plop the pot on top, and that sometimes make these repots easier. Now I like to put the bark in the center and then just wrap the sphagnum around it, so that way you have both ventilation and moisture where you want it to be. Okay, let's see. Now at least part of the repot is done for me, and I don't have to struggle getting the bark inside those thin roots. Okay, and that repot is pretty straightforward. The Gomesa, we removed the substrate off camera, and as you can see, it turned out to be a bunch of plantlets all potted together. And as you can see, this plant clearly has the habit of climbing, so this might not be as straightforward as a repot as the previous one. I have no idea how I'm going to pull this off. I think right now the only way is to do these bunches. I try to make this one cohesive plant and pot it, and the ones that are more on the top try and pull their roots down to make sure that they serve the plant too. Okay, that looks a little bit better, and it kind of gives the illusion of, you know, a plant instead of honestly a mess, which is what this is. But that's what happens when you grow species. They have their own growing habits, and I'm not going to say you have to respect it, because that would be hypocritical of me, and I never do. I have a bunch of plants that like to climb, and I insist on putting them in pots. But you have to at least acknowledge that this is how they grow and try to adapt it the best you can. This one is supposed to be kept in a well-draining soil, but it's also an oncidium related plant, so I guess I'm gonna maybe put a tiny bit of chopped sphagnum and get the smaller bark size to kind of offset the need for aeration and with some moisture. Okay, I was fidgeting with this for a good while till I was minimally happy with how it looks. I don't think these new roots are gonna make it, because they got very broken in this process. But we'll see how this turns out. Now, the Angraecum. I put some more water in the sphagnum just to make the roots a bit more flexible. And yeah, I gotta remove this little leaf. So I was recommended by the lady from MacLeod Orchids to put it in a basket, And I don't really use wooden baskets. What I usually do for vandaceous types that need a lot of air to the roots, which I'm assuming is what this plant needs, considering she made sure to tell me is pot it in a basket, don't use anything else. So this is what I'm going to use with some, I'm going to say medium-sized bark. And the challenge, I think, is going to be to bend these rules in a way that they don't get damaged. Okay, I think this is going to work. The roots are kind of springing the plant out, but the only other way would be to turn them a bit to the side, maybe. I'm really trying not to force them because these roots are very thin but very hard, so they can snap very easily. And again, this plant is not a plant that wants to have it, well, no orchid wants to have their roots disturbed, but from what I read and from what the lady told me, they really don't like to have their roots disturbed particularly. So, trying to avoid being too harsh on these roots. I got these net pots back in the day from Holke Orchidine, which is a store that doesn't exist anymore. It got turned into Equigenera Europe. But when I saw they had kind of see-through net pots, that kind of go with all the other pots I use, I had to order them. And they turned out to be kind of flimsy, as you can see, and not the best thing to pot orchids in. But I'm a sucker for aesthetics, so I could use a black net pot. I have a few over there that came with other plants, but I still only gravitate towards the white ones because it's what I have all my other orchids in. One of the advantages of these net pots being flimsy and kind of having big holes is that if you see a gap, you can just put some media through the holes and it's fine. Okay, there we go. Angraecum leonis. And if I feel like the plant is getting too dehydrated like this, I'll probably just put it inside a decorative container and it will still maintain air around the roots, but, you know, provide a little bit of moisture retention. Actually, I know this plant is dehydrated, so I'm going to do my little top dressing of sphagnum to help it. Just because I have the sense that this is a young plant and it's still really warm around here, so I don't want it to dehydrate any further. And like this, make sure that it can have a bit of a drink if it needs to.
Three weeks later.
So it's been now a month since we've had these plants, and I thought I'd give you a little bit of an update on how they're doing. So these three don't show that many changes. They seem to be doing well. The Prosthechea has new growths that are continuing to develop, and on both of these we should be seeing new roots coming in soon. The Angraecum is still looking a little bit dehydrated, so I think I'm going to have to amp up the water or put it in a decorative container to maintain humidity. But as you can see, it's putting out new roots, so I think pretty soon we'll get it into shape. The Pleurothallis, or you know what's left of it, it's maintaining itself without losing any more bulbs, and that newer growth there is continuing to develop, but I'm not sure if this growth here isn't starting to get soft in the bottom. But if it is, it's developing much slower than it was initially, so I'm gonna have to keep an eye on it and cut it off if needed, but I am still not sure if I'm gonna be left with anything in the next few months. For now, it's staying the same, and that's progress enough for me. So I hope you enjoyed this video. We might have some more videos in this style soon because we have another orchid show coming up next week from a different organization, but still. So if we manage to go, we probably will film the show, and if we buy anything, I will make more videos showing you what we got. So if you're interested in this style of video, please give it a like, and if you're not subscribed yet, consider subscribing to our channel. We'll see you next week. Goodbye.